Hello, welcome to today's how-to video. Today we're going to go over how to apply dry transfers. So I'm going to go ahead and get this model ready real quick. Okay. Alright. Now, the reality is I already filmed this. It accidentally deleted it, so I might figure what I'll do is I will start the video off by showing you what you can do as a different type of weathering technique. Let's see if I can hold this just so. Let me zoom in real quick. Now I actually decided to change colors since it turned out that I messed up the original video. I decided that, you know what, now I'm going to go ahead and you'll notice right here you'll see a shadow of some lettering numbering, black numbering. This was the dry transfer I applied earlier with the initial video attempt, and I decided that I didn't like the way the black looked. Didn't give enough of a contrast, so without standing out too brightly. So I went ahead and I scratched it off, making it look like there was a number change, because I'm actually going to use a different number. But there's a number change, and they simply scrubbed it off, scrubbed the paint off, leaving the original finish. So obviously it's not obliterated completely. Did the same thing on the back here. It's very, very faint, but you can see this, the original C8. I left it there. I'm not going to put a decal back here, so it'll be a little more obvious. But I'm going to be replacing this little decal here. I'm going to actually put the decal string right across here, I think. But on the other side, I hadn't put a decal yet, and that's where I'm actually going to put it today. So I'm actually going to be putting the decal back here in this area. Alright, so even with, I mentioned in my wet transfer decals and showed you the picture of an obliterated insignia on an aircraft wing. You can do the same thing with dry transfers, whether intentionally or on accident. You can make it look like it's got some weathering or it's taken some damage and been partially erased or scratched off. So let's get to the nuts of this. What is what are these dry transfers? Well, I happen to be using a brand called Woodland Scenics. I'm not entirely certain what's available globally, but I know over here in the U.S., Woodland Scenics has a tremendous line of different dry transfers. Now I've chosen to go with a Gothic Red 45 degree USA Gothic Red. Essentially what that means, I'll use these larger ones here, is the lower corners, basically all the four corners of the numbers are clipped 45 degrees, so they're not a nice smooth rounded edge. They've got that slight marking or slight angle to it, and that's actually on some military equipment. It's a style that I kind of like to use. So alright, so let's just talk about the components of a dry transfer decal. When you get it out of the package, no matter how large it is, you're going to have essentially a sheet. Oops, I just snapped the door off my tank. Alright. Two pieces are going to come with it. This is the actual dry transfer sheet, and on the back are all the decals. They adhere to this heavy plastic sheet, and these are exposed. So be very careful with this side, because you will actually damage the decal if you can scratch it off by touching this side too much. Okay. This side, or this sheet, is it's kind of like an onion film piece of paper. It's actually part of it. Don't throw it away. It's actually a tool you use to actually set the dry transfer in place. So we'll go ahead and show you how to do that. All right. Now, first thing you got to do before you actually do any type of dry transferring is you will determine, based on the space available, what size numbering you're going to use. It'll look good and it will still fit in the space. I'm probably going to end up using this size here. That would be what, the 3/16 inch. Sorry guys, I don't know what that is in metric, but that looks like it'll fit in here. Now the number I've come up with, I've numbered all the tanks in this particular unit. This Malcador is part of the second company, heavy tank company. It is in the 3rd platoon. It's the 3rd tank. So the number will be 233, following a Wehrmacht numbering scheme that actually helps me tell a story about my units. That is a little bit easier for the uneducated individual, someone who doesn't know about numbering, all kinds of, they'll see it. This is a tank that's part of the same unit, because if they see multiple numbers, tanks with in sequential numbers, they'll get the feel that they're part of a unit. Whereas if using some of the other symbols with the U.S. or the British armies, where they're not necessarily numbered, but they use a symbol of some sort, it's not always easy to tell what unit it's part of or how the tank fits in. So, all right, so obviously you can't use a sheet this large, so you're going to have to actually do some cutting. So I'm going to actually go ahead and cut out this block. I'm going to pick the right numbers here, and I'll get them set up so that I can actually start applying them. Alright, so I'll be back in just a sec. Okay, so I cut out the numbers, and I also went ahead and cut out the same sized letters as well. So we're doing a 3/16 inch here. That should fit in the space pretty well. Now, this decal film piece of paper here, I actually want to show you something real quick. Here's a little tip. Yeah. Basically, the number, the string of numbers, was laid out like this. Okay, in this order. Okay, and to make it easier to apply the decals, what you're going to want to do is say, I need a 3, and I need 2 and a 3. So I cut it here where I have the 2 and 3 close together, and then I cut here where I can get a 3 near the end. So what I'll be able to do now is I'll more easily be able to place this right up against the edge of the model where I need it to be. Okay? Alright, so now that I've got the decals cut out, let's talk about what you need to do to get ready for applying the dry transfers. Now, again, the whole concept of using dry transfers is essentially you're burnishing them from the decal paper onto the surface of the model with some friction and some heat and pressure. What that does is it causes it to stick to the surface of the model. Now, the thing you're trying to do here, though, very important, is give the decal something to really sink its teeth into. So you want to give the model, whatever model it is, a dull finish, a flat finish, varnish, or a dull coat. That's critical to doing this right. You're still going to give it a varnish coat over it once the decals are in place. However, to give it something to stick to, you definitely need to have a flat finish. So the models are, of course, already done that way, since I was already doing the weathering on it. You can put these numbers on wherever you want in the weathering process. If you expect to put weathering over them, you'll want to put the decals down first. So, as far as tools, you only need one thing, and that's the burnisher. I use basically like a barbecue skewer, a shish kebab skewer. A large toothpick or a round toothpick will work. You don't want to use a flat one. You want a nice sturdy surface or tool to use, because again, you can use a nice fine point. You're going to press down on the decal paper to push down on the decal pushed into the surface. A hard surface, or a sharp point, or like a let's say the edge of a hobby knife, dull hobby knife, or edge of a awl or something metal, might actually damage the decal paper, and you don't want to run the risk of ruining your decal. So wood works really well. As a matter of fact, with continued use, this is a new one, so with continued use though, that very tip starts to get a little bit softer, so you actually get a little more control with an older tool. Alright, so let's kind of zoom in and kind of watch how this happens. let's see the magic unfold. Alright, there we go. Alright, so I'm going to be placing the decal in this space here. Alrighty. Now again, what I decided to do was to place the decal, cut the decal so that I can place it right up against the edge of that spot right there, see? Okay. Now you don't want to be holding the decal paper like this because you don't want the heat from your finger to actually cause it to come off the strip. So you want to hold it on the edge like this. Put it in place. You can hold it down. Okay. And then now let's go ahead and put my thumb over it. There we go. Don't press hard because you don't want these decals coming off on the model. Then just use this in small circular motions. You can see how the tool has applied. You can see how it grayed out. It's no longer a bright red. Now you remove it, and there it is on the model. Now I'll mention right now, you can use a pencil to put it on, but I don't recommend it because that pencil lead or pen would cover the film up. You wouldn't notice how much of the decal has actually been applied to the model. At times you may miss a spot, and a small portion of the decal will actually still be on the paper. And if you pull it away too soon, you'll have a partial decal. So by being able to see that film using this particular type of tool, you will know when the decal is completely applied. Okay, now leave it there and go on to your next number, which in my case is another 3. Now here I need to make sure it's again held very close to the original 3. Okay, there he is. Okay, boom. And then the 2. There it goes. 2, 3. Yeah, that 2 doesn't look very good. So here's the beauty of it. You can use, since it's not straight, the 2 is actually falling a little bit lower. You can see it there. It's not even. What you can do is use a hobby knife or tweezers. You can actually, since it isn't burnished in yet, you can use it to lift it off. Scrape it. See how easily it comes off? Now this will not leave as much of a shadow because I haven't burnished it in with the paper. I haven't finished the decal. So unlike the black one you saw, where there was still a shadow, this one doesn't have, this one hasn't been pushed in as far. It has been set in place. So I'm going to get myself a nice stiff brush here and kind of whisk that away. Okay, and if I see any more, just go in there and take that off. Yeah, I'm actually kind of glad I messed this one up because I want you to see how easy it is, and I don't want you to get discouraged when you make mistakes because it does take some practice to get used to. To be honest with you, I haven't applied dry transfers in years. Simply haven't needed to. Alright, so let's go find another number 2. And so here I've got one on the sheet. It's right here. So I'm going to cut this. Oh, here's one right here. So I'm going to cut this area out and I'll be able to apply the 2. Alright, so here's my decal. I just cut it out. Again, just going to place it here. And again, see how translucent the film is? So you can actually, when you place it against the model, you can take your time to line it up just right. Okay. Now there is a technique you can use if you feel brave enough to do it. You can actually use a very sharp pencil to scribe a line at where the bottom of the decals would be, so you can actually butt them up against that line so you know they're all loose, or Okay, so yeah, that looks a lot better. 233. All right, it is definitely fragile at this point. I've simply transferred it from the decal sheet onto the model. But before I do anything, I absolutely must use this burnishing paper. And again, you're going to place it on the right over the decal, down in there, okay? And you're going to go over it with the burnishing tool, and you're going to press, and you're going to work it in there. Take your time. Again, don't tear the paper. That's why this is a good time not to use a metal tool, but using a wood one or a plastic one is perfect. Honestly, the back end of a brush might work. It's a fine enough brush. Applying the pressure to, again, this is putting friction and pressure to help set it into the model, into the surface. Okay. And it's hard to see on the video. You can barely see the red through the paper, but it is easy to see when you're actually using it. And there it is. There's the 233. It stands out pretty well on the model itself. I like that. It looks better than the black. It doesn't stand out so much that it becomes a glaring number, but it kind of blends in real well, especially since there's red in the other decals that are on the model. So there's the 233. Obviously no room for the C. I don't need the C. It looks really good the way it is. Now I'm going to go over and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Perfect. There we go. 233. Alright, so there we go. Just apply the dry transfers. I have a nice looking tank. Now I'm probably going to go ahead and throw probably a number on the rear as well. I don't know where yet, but now the next step though, before I do that, is I am going to, or after I do that, is I am going to hit it with the dull coat. That's the very, very critical next step. Remember, these are they're attached, but they can be scraped off. I showed you the black shadow color that was there before, so they can be scratched. What you want to do is, that is without a flat finish. So I went ahead, I'm going to give it a good dull coat, and it should seal it up real nice, protect it from any type of abrasion that'll come up. So I'm really happy. This is almost done now. I have really one more detail to do, and that is putting in the whip antenna. Alright, so next time you see this vehicle will be in the project update, where it'll be completed. Alright, catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Share, like, and subscribe. If you really enjoy this, please share it with your friends. If you find it useful, pass it on. Hope you have access to and can benefit from using dry transfers. It's a good way, especially for numbers and lettering. Very good, easy way to do work. Alright, I'll see you later next video. Bye-bye.